are listening to CPA Career Path Podcast with Rosie Flaherty, CPA MSA. This is episode number 43. We continue the conversation with Sarah to learn more about her CPA journey. You mentioned about training. Oh my God, Sarah, training takes so much energy, so much effort. I involve in trainings for staff, but each time I finish the training, my brain just like completely off. And I feel like I just talk enough for the whole day. I don't even want to talk anymore when my husband gets back home. And so I don't know what make you so passionate about training. How did you manage your energy from training? Because you have to talk a lot. You have to be patient with people when you provide the training. And you may have to answer the same questions over and over.
I think it goes back to the end in mind. You know, the reason why we do training is what drives me and it makes me passionate about training. So the fact that people are going to get better, they're going to get smarter, they're going to progress in their career when they actually have proper training is really what motivates me. And I was that auditor when I was in my first year and probably beyond first year that always wanted to know the why. It's just who I am. It's like, and if I can understand the why behind what I am doing, it clicks so much better for me and feels so much more purposeful. So I've always tried to incorporate the why into my training when I deliver information to people.
I love that. Start with the end in your mind. That helps a lot. That makes sense. So when you work at AAF CPAs, I know you love this job you work with, and you mentioned to me that you even admire your boss so much. And I think that's a great thing. So when you work on this job, I know it's still new for you, but you love this position so much. How do you feel like when you work, not go to work because you work from home, but like how you feel like when you work every day at the job that you really like?
Yeah, I've always been very passionate about moving the profession forward. I want people to be able to work less, like I had the opportunity. You know, when I moved to Colorado, it was a new state. I learned how to ski. Well, if you're in tax in a big firm, like you're not going to get ski season because you're going to be working crazy hours. So I actually was appreciative that my experience when I moved to that new location was that I could enjoy all the seasons that the new state offered. So that's really passionate for me. I've also been really early in my career when I was a baby auditor. The clarity standards came out where we were supposed to adopt a risk-based audit approach. And I've always found the software that we use for audit has made that really difficult to think differently. And if you're in audit, you will know Sally. Sally is not a person. Sally is same as last year. And boy, oh boy, do I have a relationship with Sally. I really dislike Sally, but it is how a lot of people in the industry operate. And it's really hard to break up with Sally. She's been a lifelong friend. She's really hard to leave behind, but it's time. And so in this new role, I actually am helping the audit department go through an audit methodology and software transformation process. So right now we're looking at 2 different softwares on the market. We're comparing the 2. They're both amazing. I'll tell you a little more in a minute. And then we'll make a decision, and then I'll help the firm implement the new software. But what we were really looking for and what I'm passionate about is taking that risk-based audit approach, like stop auditing prepaids or fixed assets just because the dollar amount's big, but nothing changed much year over year. You know, how do we think truly about risk? How do we do less work in the easy areas, which is not what people like? They like to do easy things that you can check off quickly, but it's not a good use of time. I know it's a hard sell, but it's like we've got to leave that behind. And how do we focus our energy and our time and our talent on the risky areas, which is the stuff if we miss, it's going to get us in trouble. It's the stuff the clients care about. It's the stuff the vendors and the banks really care about too. So, how do we spend more time there doing truly what's important work and stop doing the like mindless tasks that are easy? So, both softwares we happen to be looking at, and there are a few on the market today, actually enable you to think this way, which I'm just so jazzed about. It's way past time to move us forward and truly do a risk based audit. So I'm so passionate every day. I get to come to work. Like you said, I get up, I go to my basement where my office is. I get to play in two new amazing softwares. I get to, it's hard. It's going to be a hard choice, but there's always something you're going to like about one. And there's going to be things you don't like about that one. And there's stuff you like about the other and things you don't like about the other. So, really, what it comes down to is weighing what features are most important to help you make your decision. So, we're almost to that point in our journey, which is exciting.
That's exciting. That's awesome. You mentioned about using that technology to minimize the easy tasks. And so I'm just curious, is that something that we may need less staff because of new software?
Sometimes people get a little worried, and I've heard it even with my pilot groups. If we are getting rid of all these easy things, and if we have to have managers and partners involved in the planning process early on, like what are our staff going to do? Well, let's back up. Let's take a big picture look at the industry for a minute. We have a talent shortage. We don't have enough people coming in to do this work, anyways. So I think this is a perfect opportunity to rely on offshoring and rely on AI and robotic process automation, as well as changing how we think about doing audits, doing less on that easy stuff. And so what I really see happening is those people who are coming into the profession will be raised up a lot quicker, and they will be doing more important tasks a lot earlier in their careers.
But it could be a problem that you may raising the entry bar too high for new staff that they're supposed to already know easy stuff that you just jump in to do the difficult one only. Do you think that it could be a challenge for them when it is already a challenge for talent shortage at the moment?
I definitely think that challenge is out there. I think colleges and universities are going to have to rethink curriculums, which I believe that is on the AICPA's agenda right now. Anyhow, the skills that people have coming out of college, I think, are going to be different. And for example, like data scientists, I think something we've identified in our pilots is you now ingest the general ledger. It's usually only the trial balance today, at least in the software I've worked in, but now the general ledger is coming in. So now you have thousands of lines of data that are at your fingertips, that beautiful dashboards are built. So you're not filtering the general ledger, trying to see, here were the 8 debits in this journal entry. Here were the 4 credits. What is this telling me? The software is actually enabling us to be smarter and understand data better. But we see a gap in skill set right now that will need to be filled. And again, I think with training, even our training at the firm. So yes, there's the need to have training or curriculum changed at the university level, which I can't control. But then what we can do within each of our firms is I think we can have different training. And if you really think about the big picture, does knowing how to do cash, how to audit cash, really give someone like a special skill that they need to know how to audit revenue? Maybe, maybe not.
That's true. So talking about training, of course, we cannot change anything about the education because it's out of our hands. But for the training, what did you do differently for the training to get the staff who are new to this industry to make them ready?
Yeah, something that just came up from having a post-mortem conversation from this summer's training session is that we tend to have a lot of first-year employees with not a lot to do. But we know how much seniors are on the seniors' plate and how much they're struggling with workload. So one suggestion that was put forth at our firm was to actually combine level 1 and level 2 technical training together. So something in level 2 is preparing our experienced staff to become senior. So there's a lot of time management training in there. How do you manage staff training that I think is outside of what I'm talking about? But really, like, can we still teach year 1 employees how to audit revenue and how to audit receivables and how to audit equity or net assets? Like, I think that that's something we need to accelerate and get them trained better on. And then the other approach we took that was a pilot this summer. So we're still getting feedback and we're developing a survey to really measure impact. But we did a mock audit. So with all of those new hires who were associates for this, they started this summer. They had a week or two of hands-on training with like example client data. So we're going to go through a cash section and you're going to get all the work papers that you would normally get from a client. This was based off a client, so it is real work papers. And you're going to perform all of these steps in your small group together. And then you're actually going to have a review. You're going to get review points. You're going to learn how to clear review points or ask questions if you're uncertain of those review points. And it's in a safe training space. So you don't feel like you're disappointing your senior or your manager if you don't get something right. And it's controlled. So we're not throwing the like hardest examples at them. We need them to get started somewhere. But we're really hoping that this gains some momentum and that it's successful.
The feedback that I normally get from staffs when I provide the training is that they don't really actually understand or remember what they do until they do the real job. And even you give them the real example, like, hey, this is example, go through this, go through the actual process. And then when they actually do the work, it feels like their mind just starts from beginning again. Do you have that issue?
I think everyone has that issue, but the more hands-on you can get, the more it's going to stick. Everyone has a different learning style. I mentioned mine is seeing and doing. And so when someone is talking at me, I actually have to take notes or take pictures of slides because that's just how I learn and how I process and how I get things to stick in my brain. So I think we need to be flexible, knowing that there are, not everyone's going to learn the same way as you. And can we provide training in a variety of ways so that it can stick the most? Again, we're not going to hit everyone 100%, but like what's the majority we can hit? And can we do anything different for those one-offs that are really just struggling with anything being able to be absorbed?
I like it. I like how you get the staff ready because that's always concern that we have. How can we make the staff understand the concept, have less review notes, and really feel motivated to get the job done? So I hope that all these trainings that we can have for staff will improve that a lot. So Sarah, besides of having so much fun at work and then dealing with 2 new softwares to pick which one is the best, and also with all the trainings with staff, what do you do for fun?
Well, I have little kids, so I don't have as much fun as I used to, or fun is just different these days. I have an almost 4-year-old and one who is a year and a half. And so they are busy and chaotic, and I have to really be full attention on them when they're home. One thing that I really enjoy is also teaching my children, how to grow up in the world and how to make their mark. And so one of the things that I've recently done is taught my 3-year-old how to scan groceries at the grocery store self-checkout. And she feels so empowered, and it's one less thing I have to do. So it's like I've been able to delegate this small task to her, which is fun for both of us. Also, I'm very crafty. So I have a Cricut machine, which is a cutting machine. So what we'll do is especially for birthday parties for her friends, we'll design a t-shirt using AI. We use Bing Image Creator, and we'll dream up something like a unicorn wearing a birthday hat on a skateboard. And we'll cut it out on the Cricut machine, and then I'll iron it on the shirt as the gift. And so again, being able to bring the children in to create some of this fun is very fulfilling.
That's crazy how you have 3 or 4 years old and then 1.5. So they just like so much energy, and you have to manage all those energy on the top of that, and then working from home. That's a lot. How can you get your focus? At home, at
I
home.
I really needed a job that gave me energy, didn't take energy, because I'm already low on energy from the child interactions. But actually, you bring up another passion of mine. So I'm really passionate. I started a meditation practice a little over a year ago. And, meditation is really to help you increase your focus and attention. And something that I experimented with and recently brought to the firm that has so far seen some great success is we created a attention and focus session that plays off AAF, our acronym, attention and focus, and we call it the alcove. And basically the alcove is a 1 hour Zoom call that anyone is invited to. We come into the meeting, we do a very short introduction, we state the one item we're going to work on during that hour. So we focus on monotasking, which is only working on one task at a time. If you're really great and you can do 6 tasks in an hour, that's amazing. But it needs to be task 1, start to finish, before you start task 2. You don't switch between them. That really eats your focus and your attention. And we're all on camera, but we're on mute. So it's a concept called body doubling, and it mimics being in the office together and the accountability you would have when it's 3 p.m. on a Friday afternoon and you're really struggling with motivation and you look over and you're like, Rosie's over there just cranking out her work. I can do this too. So it creates that in a virtual environment, and it's had really great success so far.
Wow. So how long the meeting is? Just an hour?
Mm-hmm. And we focus for anywhere from 45 minutes to 53 minutes. We have a little bit of an introduction, like I mentioned. And then we have, at the very end, we always celebrate our successes. So we ask everyone, what did you accomplish, big or small? And then we'll celebrate, wow, that sounds great. You got through that compliance testing. That's amazing. You got halfway through that 1120. We just celebrate all the wins, even when
And
they're little.
now that's crazy. How many people normally attend the meeting?
We've only had 4 sessions so far, and we had anywhere from 8 people to 30 people on a call.
That's a lot of people to have 30 people in the call for an hour and then just quietly do the job.
But it's an hour of uninterrupted focus time. It's not another meeting for an hour. It's actually an hour to get your work done. So I think people don't mind having it on their calendar because it also blocks off other things. So
Yeah.
nothing can come in and interrupt that time and space. And we focus on those distractions. We put our cell phones on silent, or for those who need to, put it in the other room. We turn our Teams to do not disturb status. We close our email, or we turn it to work offline. And we state this at the beginning of every meeting to make sure people are paying attention to this tiny thing that if they don't do, their attention will be taken during that session.
It's funny when I think about just like focus time, because I moved to Eastern time now and I still work in Pacific time zone. So when I start working at 8 a.m. in the morning, it's still 5 a.m. in California. People are still sleeping at that time. So by the time at noon, it's mean probably 9 a.m. in California when people start getting up. I try to in the morning try to get all my work done in the morning, and then the meeting will be start moment people get up at night. The meeting start from 10, 11, 12 in Pacific time. I would say, okay, at least I get something done in the morning already. So that's amazing. I like it.
It is. And when I switched to working East Coast, I don't fully work the hours. I work 10 a.m. East Coast is when I start, because with the children with drop off, that was our arrangement. I have to be ready that as soon as I start working at 8 a.m. my time, people have been waiting for me. But I have really quiet afternoons. And so it's just the change that I had to figure out with my own schedule.
Yeah. Same to me that I have to change up, adjust my schedule. It's feel like, okay, I'm going to work 8 a.m. in Eastern time, and then I'm going to stop at 5 p.m. in Eastern time. It means 5 p.m. Eastern time. It means 2 p.m. in Pacific time. And then I end up working until 8 p.m. It means 5 p.m. in Pacific time. So it still takes time for me to adapt, difficult for me to get the boundaries and no, by 5 p.m. I'm done. It's not that easy.
I did put in a block on my calendar, and it shows out of office from 8 a.m. Eastern to 10 a.m. Eastern, and it just says this is outside my normal working hours, but if you really need something, please email me to schedule. So I will take things on a one-off basis when I need to, but it does help without you having to say the boundary orally. That's a nice trick too.
Yeah, talking about boundaries, do you have to set boundaries a lot in your career and how do you maintain them?
Oh, boundaries are hard. I think everyone could probably be better at boundaries. At least could certainly be better. I think this is, this is a pro and a con, but I think actually switching jobs creates a great opportunity for you to set boundaries early on that maybe you struggled with setting at the previous firm.
Yep.
So actually one of the boundaries that I have, and again, I hold to it most days. So a boundary is something that you create, but that you also have to hold and maintain. You don't just create it and then it's done. I have a time block on my calendar for lunch and a walk every day. Some days, yes, I have meetings that run through that, but I would say 8 out of 10 days, I hold strong to that boundary. And I actually get away from my desk. I've stopped eating lunch at my desk, which is amazing for accountants. But I had to go, I had to leave a job that I had not set that boundary for um, to do it. So not that that's always the answer, but it is easy. So if you are switching jobs, I would start with your boundaries really early on because it's just easier when you're new.
Yep. Yes. Talking about switching job, when was the most difficult time when you switch job? Can you share with us about that?
Hmm. I think when it's unexpected, it can be difficult. Leave like the internship at PwC that didn't hire any of us. Um, while it wasn't going to start the next day, it wasn't going to start till later in the fall. Like that was still hard because it was unexpected. I'm a planner though, so I don't like things that are unexpected.
I think most accountants or most CPAs are planners. So we like to plan things in advance and we just hate it when it don't go with our plan.
Also after working at one firm forever, it felt like, for my forever, for 13 years, I was only exposed to one way of doing things. So that was my truth. And going to a new firm and learning, wow, they do it so differently. Some things I liked, some things I didn't like. But really progressive firms, I think, will hear you out when you have ideas or when you've seen something like a process that works better somewhere else. And bringing that to the table can be really valuable for your new firm.
I like it how you mentioned about that you did things the same way over for a long time and now you have to change it. It's not easy. Even for me, just work the same way we do it for several years and we jump to a new firm, we change the way we did it. I did it in the past and I was like, oh, I missed the way I did in the past. But and then, no, this is a new firm now. I need to adapt to the new way as well. So that will relate to the change that you love making changes. You love making the difference. It sounds like it is your personality, as you mentioned from very beginning, that you like the challenges. Changing is a challenge and you love it and it's consistent over time from the beginning when you show that you want to do accounting to the point that now where you are right now at the current job. That's
Yep.
just very consistent. At least you know that that is your personality. A lot of people, including myself, sometimes we questioning, what is actually what I like? Still questioning over time.
It's funny. I don't like moving my furniture around in my house, though. My husband wants to move things, and I'm like, no, they're in their perfect spot. Why would we move this?
You talking about that reminds me about my mom. She loves moving furniture around her house. And so each time I visit her, I see her bed in different side of the room or like the table will be in different corner of the house and she just think that it's make her feel happy. So Talking about the talent shortage that we mentioned before, I know that you're super active in community, in AICPA. We talk a lot about talent shortage. Do you have any ideas how we can improve it, or any opinions, any suggestions?
I do. I think our profession needs to be more attractive. I think we need to share the wealth. There's big disparity between entry level staff and partners. And I've really dived into the concept of enough. And enough is hard to digest when you're an overachiever. If you're like me, I was always a goalpost mover. As soon as I would hit my goal, like that wasn't good enough, I had to move my goal like 50 more yards down the football field. So really grasping the concept of enough, like in particular, like enough money. And my husband and I have this conversation a lot. It's like you see the carrot dangling of the partner salary, and you're like, that'd be nice and that would be cool, but like we have enough and we're more than fine where we are today. And so I think if we can become satisfied with the concept of enough and that we are privileged, we live wonderful, enriched and blessed life, I think then you can get firm members to start sharing that wealth. So bringing those employees in when they're earlier in their career at a more attractive salary, and maybe not going up as high as whatever the partners are, like $1 million a year at big firms. Where is enough? Where's the middle point? How can we, instead of, here's what I don't want to see. I don't want to see, I know we're going to have to raise salaries, so we're going to see that. But I don't want the offset of that to mean more work for our team members, because it's not just about salary, it's also about balance. I love that this new generation is coming in demanding better work life and fewer hours because they want to work smarter. They don't want to work as hard. They don't care that you worked like 80 hours back in the day, or if you walked uphill barefoot in the snow home from school. Like, they don't care. They don't want that for themselves. So you telling that story doesn't make them excited about the future. So I think when you're going through transformation in particular, which we identified as a huge opportunity to save time, firms have to be really mindful and have a plan for how they're going to fill that time. If it were up to me, my vote is to work less. I am fine. I have the concept of enough. Yeah, more money is great, but if I had to choose, I think at this point in my life, especially with having kids, which has really changed my perspective, I would choose to work less.
But a lot of times, when you work less, you have less salary, but you have a lot of expenses that you have to worry about. It's not something that people can choose. A lot of time people say, I have no choice. Like, you have mortgage, you have living expenses, you have kids expenses. You cannot just get lower salary, work less, and then waste money to pay all those expenses. How do you respond to those people?
Well, I still think we should make more and work less, but I'll still answer your question.
That's perfect. And then that's perfect.
But it goes back to the concept of enough. Like, are you trying to keep up with the Joneses? Is your house enough? Like, yeah, we have our eyes set on a bigger house in a different neighborhood, but that's our dream. And where we are today is enough. And we're very happy with that. Do my children need to be in 18 after school activities? For our family, that's too much stress to juggle anyway. So, like, we have chosen that we want our children to know how to swim and we want them to know how to ski. So, while they're this little, which is very little, remember, those are the only two activities we have them in at the moment. And so I think, again, it just goes back to enough. And until you get comfortable with that concept of enough in your life, I don't think you'll ever find true fulfillment.
I like it. Back to meditation. It's mentioned a lot about that. Be happy with yourself. Identify your enough. I can relate to that. Before we finish the interview, I was wondering if you have any last tips and advice for young staffs who just joined this profession.
I think don't, how do I say this? Don't be afraid to dream big. I might not have seen my career path going to where I am today when I was in year 1 or 2. But feel those feelings, really listen to yourself, listen to what your heart is telling you, what your body's telling you, get curious about it, and use your network to find the right place for you. So if you try audit and you get burnt out, it doesn't mean that you're any less of a CPA. It means that wasn't the right fit for you as a job, or that wasn't the right firm for you, or both. And there are so many possibilities out there, and we're so excited to have you be part of our group that there is a place for you somewhere, and it's just a matter of finding that. And then I know a lot of the early career professionals might not have a big say in audit transformation yet, but I'm going to put this out there anyways. I did also co-found an audit transformation community, and so that is open to people who work at firms who have a connection with the audit department. So you either work in the audit department or you're working on transformation and change for the audit department, to join our group. It's right now made of 44 people with backgrounds in over 15 firms, and we just share our journeys. So I don't want to have to learn all the things the hard way on my own. So I want to hear from people a couple steps ahead in their journey. And so we brought this community together. It resides on LinkedIn, and if you can't find it, you can always find me and get connected that way. It is not open to vendors because we want this to be one-on-one conversations amongst firm members. We will invite vendors for very specific and strategic sessions if our members want that. But we really want a safe space. I liked this and I didn't like that. And how did you navigate X feature in this software? So we're really excited. This is a new community. Again, bringing people together is my passion, and finding more connection. And so this community is open to almost anyone.
I love it. I love it. It sounds like you want this community to be authentic. You don't want people to just come in and then get business and then forget about supporting each other in this community. So yes, people out there, if you listen to this podcast, go check this out.
Thank you for letting me share my message and share about all the fun things I've been able to dream up.
Thank you so much. I love your journey. I love how passionate you are about connections, about bringing people together, and about the software to make changes in this profession. I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rosie.